Yo, what up, YouTube? Thanks for coming back to the video. I'm live over on twitch.tv/TamCardwell right this exact moment, and I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions that were left over on my last 20 questions video. I said if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will say the same thing for this video once it is over on YouTube, but I've got a small twist. I am live, obviously, and so if you guys in the chat, if you guys have any questions that you would like to know, I will ask at the very end. It will be very tough for me to keep track of your questions as we're going through these 20 questions, so just save them for the end, and I promise I'll get to everybody. I promise. So with that said, we're just gonna jam some questions and see how quick we can get about it. Let's get it. All right, my first one is from Mally. Hey, how's it going? I hope you're having a good day. I certainly am. Question: when it comes to negative values in this game, when speed gets reduced to say let's say -3, and we go to the block step, is the value now 0 or -3? And if it is -3, does that mean my opponent needs a 0 block modifier to block it? So I'm a little confused about the second half of that question, but I will answer it to the best of my ability. Every value in the game can go negative except for health. As soon as health hits 0, the game is over. We've stopped all game states. It's done. When let's say the speed does go negative, anytime that you would go for a block, the block would be on that, whatever that negative number is, which is the speed, so it'd be -3 in this case, plus your block modifier, plus the progressive difficulty of the person attempting to block. So let's pretend that we are blocking with the character card, so it is -3 plus 0. It's the first block in my card pool plus 0. So I would have to check a -3. Any check that I do off the top of my deck is going to pass that, unless, you know, my opponent has somehow played an ability to make my check -4, which would be insane. And then, does that mean my opponent needs a +0 block mod to block it? I think our terminology is a little mixed here, because the block mod refers to the number in the top corner, and you can block any attack with any block modifier. It does not matter like how fast the thing is versus the block modifier. What matters is the check difficulty that needs to be made afterwards. So I hope that cleared that up. That's why character cards are so good, is because they are 0 block mods and they're very good at blocking. But we will get to that. Where do action cards go after you clear the card pool, momentum, or the discard pile? The only things that can be put into your momentum with game states are attacks that have dealt damage. That means they have done 1 or more damage. You can cheat cards into your momentum using card effects, things like Charged Up. Lets you throw any card you want into your momentum. So you could add an action card that way. Actually, that's like a really interesting way for Ochako to like sculpt a hand if you wanted to. You could hit with a charge attack and then respond with your Charged Up, add a cool action into your momentum if you wanted, play another attack, commit Ochako, pick up any card that you want, including that face down action that you tossed in. I will note, if a card goes from your a public area to your momentum, it does go face down and then becomes private, unless it has an ability on it that says that it stays face up. So you can put the momentum, the random card, into your momentum with something like Charged Up, but it will go face down. It will not be public, so you don't get to like pick and choose. What is the easiest way to introduce somebody to this game if this is their first trading card game? So the biggest, first and foremost, I have made a video about how stores can demo their game, or the ways that I use the method that I use to demo. And so I would, first off, once you understand how the game works, that's the demo that I use and I think you should use for every single person, no matter their age range, whether they've played card games before or they have not. It is easier, honestly, to learn this game if you have not played a card game. I think that people come into this game and they find it is really tough to understand how actually complicated the ceiling is for this game. If they've played other games. Our current world champion and probably the best UFS player, Universes player in the world currently, Mark Tyner, big shout outs to him, has not played a card game before. This was his first card game, and since playing this card game has picked up other card games and goes and destroys them. But like, this was his first card game, and he's the best player in the world, and it does not take having known prior card game knowledge to get this one. Thank you, Fuzzy. Thank you, Lenoco. I really like this game, and I think demoing this game is incredibly, incredibly important. And so, there's that. All right. Dumb question. But I discard said weapon to the discard pile. Does that mean that the next card that I play will be played in the same spot? For example, first thing I do is attack with a 0 progressive difficulty. Then I play 3 more cards after it for a plus progressive difficulty of 3. Then the 4th card I play is an attack card and should have a +4 difficulty. Then I use her enhance to take away the first attack card I used. It's the very next card that I'm going to play with no extra difficulty to it. So I put this question in because progressive difficulty and the card pool is kind of confusing. And the reason that it is confusing is because of Jasko's attempt to make the card pool understandable. Don't think of the card pool as individual slots, right? When we look at the playing mats, the demo mats that come inside of the rival decks, they've got like 5 squares, 5 rectangles on them with +0, +1, +2, +3, so on. Okay. They have squares, rectangles with the difficulties printed on them, and people think that they have to play cards in that particular order, and they get confused whenever you have a card leave that order. What happens? Do my cards slide down? The answer is no. They don't slide or move anywhere. Think of that as just like a play space, and whenever you play a card, just count the cards before it, and that's your progressive. So I discarded a weapon to the discard pile. Does that mean that the next card that I play will be played in the same spot? It's just always played at the rightmost part of my chain. Or of my card pool, and so that includes blocking, right? I'm gonna call her out. Something that is like different or like not. It is unusual. As we have somebody in chat I play all the time, Nil, who blocks across from attack. So she'll play an attack. My opponent will play an attack on the far left of their card pool, and she'll block on the far right of the card pool, representing which card was used for the block, right? Which is fine, but it kind of messes up the idea of progressive difficulty the more that you like play cards if you think about them in specific slots. I am totally down for her to play her blocks that way because the card pool is nebulous. As long as it stays in an order in its specific way so we can count progressive so we know which cards are in which slot, I personally don't care as long as it is organized and we can keep track of it, because the order of the card pool matters, not necessarily where in the card pool the cards matter, if that makes sense. Anything else that I missed? Yeah, I think that covers this question. Just make sure that as you're playing, the card pool is a nebulous area. Don't think about +1, +2, or think about +1, +2, +3. Don't think about the slots in the card pool. We'll move on. Where do you buy your Universes packs? I take and buy my Universes packs at my locals. If you don't know where your locals are, I will leave a link in the description down below of this YouTube video where you can have a store finder to go out and find them. At the same time, unlimited product of, I believe, all My Hero sets are going to be over at big distributors. So like Walmart, Target are going to get these. But I highly suggest that you go and support your local game store. I think you definitely, should go and support the place where you're allowed to like play the game. You know, they keep their lights on so we can keep playing tournaments and such. But yeah, you can also buy packs online. I know a lot of online distributors sell boxes. You can just go to TCG Player and go buy boxes there. But once again, support local game stores. What are you playing on? What game is this? I'd like to play on this and start building decks. Dark Chocolate, I'm playing on Tabletop Simulator. If you go to Tabletop Simulator, there is a really good, slightly outdated video that I did over on TCG University about how to play UFS Universes online. And it is all on Tabletop Simulator. With that said, and I will leave a link to that video in the description down below. I don't need to rehash it here. With that said, Jasko Games' official stance is they do not support Tabletop Simulator being the go-to way to play the game, and honestly, neither do I. If there was an easier online client to play the game on that was not like bad webcams, I would definitely be playing it. If Jasko had an official online client, that's where I would be. But this is the best thing that I can do to create content and videos, and so I suggest you going out and playing on there, but you definitely should buy the real products as well. I think owning cardboard is really, really important for the longevity and life of card games, and Tabletop Simulator is a fine substitute. Think of it as like a Venn diagram of sorts. Do not exclusively play the game on Tabletop Simulator. If you can, go buy product. Please, please, please. Hey, where is the online rulebook PDF file for the My Hero Academia trading card game? I will leave it in the description down below. It is online. You can go on to the My Hero Academia CCG website, and you can find it out there, but I will leave a direct link in the description down below. How many enhances can you play in the enhance step? The answer is as many as you possibly can. I say that because eventually you will run out, as you can only play one enhance per enhance step, unless the card text says otherwise. Looking at you, Tape Swing. But you will continue to play enhances until both you and your rival have consecutively passed on their enhance. So I can play 100 enhances on my side of the board, and my opponent can, or my rival can play 0. Conversely, my rival could play 100 enhances and I could play 0, and it's still totally legal. You are not limited by the number that you can play, as well as, this is also important, you can play the same enhance on a card multiple attacks in your card pool, right? So if I have Stronger in Darkness, right? Enhance : this attack gets +1 damage, only playable if your character's committed. Perfect. So we have that ability on the card. I play my first attack, my character's committed, I can press that button. My next attack, I can press that button too. In addition to that, you can also play enhances that don't do anything on your opponent's attacks. So let's say that I have Stronger in Darkness, my character's committed. My opponent plays an ability that says, if you pass on your next enhance, you take 1,000,000 damage. Well, I'm allowed to enhance : my attack gets +1 damage, only playable if my character's committed. I'm allowed to legally play that enhance. I'm allowed to play any enhance that I could pay the cost for, and I don't have a restriction on. If my character was ready, obviously I couldn't play that Stronger Darkness enhance, but since I can, I can. And so there are some times where I want to play an enhance on my opponent's card, even though it won't necessarily affect their card, right? Like, for instance, Ochako's enhance commit. If I have at least 1 momentum, this attack gets +3 speed, and then I can pick up 1 moment. Or sorry, my attack gets +3 speed, and then I can pick up 1 of my momentum. I can enhance commit just to pick up the momentum, but my opponent's attack won't get the 3 speed. And a lot of other card games, if I'm not affecting my cards and I'm not completing the effect of the card, I cannot play that enhance. That is not the case in our game. That is very much not the case. How many copies of a card can I have in a deck? The answer is 4, unless there is specific card text that says otherwise. If you jump all the way back to the old Universes card game, there is a card called Spell Circle, which has card text on it that says you may only have 1 of this card in your deck, and there's a card called Red Eye Capsule that says you can have up to 16 of this card in your deck. And so 4 is the number, like that's the rule, and inside of the My Hero Academia at time of recording, there's no other cards that do that, but there are possible cards that say that later. Is it better to crack the first edition packs or wait to sell the boxes sealed if I'm willing to just get unlimited product? My personal opinion is I think holding packs so that people who get into the game later and have the ability to be collectors is totally cool. I think that that's rad. I know as soon as I have some disposable income, I want a first edition box to just set up on the set. I want that. I want to keep a first edition box more for nostalgia collector reasons. I'm not going to stop anybody getting their bag, but just holding a first edition pack or box just to sell those packs later, I'm not positive this game's gonna be as expensive as something like Flesh and Blood was a little while ago. Like cracking alpha packs of Flesh and Blood is like baffling to me, the money that you have to put into that. And so the answer is possible. The answer is like maybe, but I am certainly not a money guy. I wanted to put this in here just because, like, if you're willing to just get the unlimited product, it could possibly be a money saver or a money. You could possibly sell those first edition packs for more depending on if the game gets big. In addition to that, it's also possible that you're wasting money buying all these first edition products when you could just be playing with it if first edition doesn't sell at all. And so, like, it certainly is that's your 2 options. Do you think that you can reimburse it and make the money back later, either equal out or go more, or not? Me personally, I'm playing all my first edition stuff, except for the wall that I have and then the first box that I'm gonna grab. Here's my question. What's the easiest My Hero Academia character to budget build? So the simplest answer to that is Bakugo Midoriya. Just go buy a rival deck and you have a competitive deck. It's not like the absolute highest that you could go, but $25 gets you 2 competitive decks that you could easily play on a budget. So you and a buddy can go and play in events, and those are tournament legal decks. You can go and definitely go do it. I really, really enjoy both of those decks, and I think they've got a lot of power cards in them, a lot of cards that other people want to use. So yeah, I would suggest that. Conversely, I think the bad guys are really easy to build. I think that Nomu just hits really hard, and you will find results because people accidentally hold the wrong block zone. So you can easily steal/earn games with Nomu. Same thing with Shigaraki. One of his most powerful cards is a common or uncommon. And then it's very easy for Kirishima to be good budget because you can pretty much just stack a bunch of cool punches off of the Earth symbol and like feel good about yourself by getting a lot of resources. I will say my personal opinion is I think that 7-handers are harder to play budget because they are so fragile. Like if you take a budget Froppy and you put them up against a big crazy money deck, it's possible that like I don't think Froppy gets to kill people without some pretty expensive ultra rares. And so like you can do that, but I think 7-handers are way harder because like you kind of have gotta have that little extra juice. The point of that 7-hand size is to get that extra card advantage, and that card's got to really matter. You're giving up a lot of life for it. So there's the answer. I gave you like five answers there. Whew. I am confused why it's called the My Hero Academia card game when it's a component of the Universes brand, which is the rebranding of Universal Fighting System. Can other IPs not be combined with this version like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or others? This is a really fun question because a lot of my audience, honestly, have never heard of Universes or the Universal Fighting System, which is where it was, the history lesson we don't get into today. But the answer is this is the My Hero Academia collectible card game because that is its own format. There is, imagine 2 Venn diagrams, right? We've got the Universes, which plays off of the Universal Fighting System, and then we have the My Hero Academia card game, which is compatible inside of Universes, but is its own separate thing, which also uses the Universal Fighting System. The way that I keep it separate in my brain is I think the Universal Fighting System is the idea of the check system, having attacks, having blocks, having card pool manipulation, having a stage, having a character, block zones, speed zones, all of that jazz. And so that is like the idea of the Universal Fighting System. And then Universes, right, is taking every brand that we have, which we have even more than was mentioned here, right? Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, we've got Cowboy Bebop, we've got Yu Yu Hakusho, we've got Soul Calibur, we've got Darkstalkers, we've got so much. And when you go back to the history, back before the rebranding of Universes, there was even more IPs that were all battling together in this Universes idea. But Jasco and Universes have decided to split off and make the My Hero card game because they wanted, honestly, because they have a deal with the people at My Hero to make a game, and so that is the point. Universes is not going anywhere. The idea of standard is not going anywhere, especially at time of recording, and so My Hero and Universes will be compatible and should be sailing together up into success. But just realize that they are 2 separate formats, but Universes is allowed to use My Hero cards, but not vice versa. Is it standard to run more than one hero/villain? For example, All Might True Form lets you play other All Mights on him. No other characters seem to behave this way, right? The answer is correct. It is standard to run exclusively one hero or villain as your starting character, and then you don't really put other characters in your deck. There's another question later that we'll talk about the idea of running other characters in your deck, but All Might has an ability that interacts with characters, and so you want to use his character card. In addition to that, Mount Lady also has an ability on her face, on her character card, that she wants to interact with other copies of Mountain Lady. And so there's some really cool, interesting design that goes into those specific characters, but for the most part, no, we don't want it. I believe the idea for that is there is going to be a lot of characters. Like if you already look in set 1, we have 4 All Mights, and there's only one of them that really gets to interact with the others in a successful, meaningful way. And so the thing about stacking characters whenever we get 3, 4, 5 sets down is we could have like 7 Midoriyas, right? So maybe that is that would be a problem if we all get to stack them together. If you want to play that way, as in a previous question, we talked about universes. Standard, you're allowed to go play multiple characters and stack them on top of each other because there's way more answers in that game, and so we can handle that kind of support. Great video, learned a lot. Thank you much, Jordan. What is build? Can you have more than one character in a deck if they share a symbol? There's 2 questions here. We'll count it as one, though. What is build? Build is any time that you would take a card and add it to your stage. You can build foundations. You can build assets. You can build characters. You can build attacks as foundations, but they have to be face down. You can build actions as foundations, but they have to be face down. Any card that is face down in your stage is considered a foundation. So even if you take an asset or a character and it somehow gets flipped onto your into your stage, it is a foundation now. As soon as it gets flipped up, the game now realizes what it is, and you can do something with it. And you're allowed to peek at your face-down foundations. And so you could be like, oh, this is an attack. This used to be an asset. Yeah, build is anytime you can put it in. And can you have more than one character card in your deck if they share a symbol? The answer is yes. You can put any number, up to 4 cards in your deck as long as they share a symbol with your character, which means that you, like we talked about All Might just now, All Might, all of them have the all symbol. You could have 11 All Mights and your starting character in your deck and be totally chill. Yeah, it is very cool. How do character cards work in the My Hero Academia collectible card game? That is a very hard question. I read some posts about standard UFS that talks about combining the powers of characters you've been playing into your card pool and passing a check. I've also seen some rules about choosing a character from your deck at the beginning of the game, not necessarily having designated character for your deck when you build it. Whew. How do character cards work in the My Hero collectible card game? So currently in the My Hero card game, and I'll touch very, very, very briefly on UFS standard. The way that it works in My Hero is you have a character card you choose a character card, and that is your starting character, and that is the first character you have to play every single game if you go to a tournament or whatever with. Boom, there's your character. So I'll pick Midoriya, for example. Boom. I've played Midoriya. I'm allowed to take other characters and put them inside of my deck, and as well as I have a 10-card sideboard. If I wished to switch with my character in Game 2 with a character from my sideboard, as long as it matches the symbol that I'm currently playing, I'm allowed to, which it should because all your cards have to match. So let's say that in my sideboard I've got All Might 1, 5-hander, draws a bunch of cards. That's who I want now. I can put him in. In addition to that, let's say that I'm playing All Might 2 in my main board because I want to play the extra character. I want the 0 mid-black. I want the 6-check. How cool. I am allowed to take that character out of my deck and put it into my allowed to put it into my character slot for games 2, games 3 out of my deck. That is legal. You're allowed to do that. That used to be a pretty big strategy for Universe's standard decks, is you would have your sideboarded character inside of your deck if your deck was able to run more than one character successfully. So I want to talk about playing character cards into your card pool and passing a check. They are cards just like everything else. A lot of the times whenever we add extra characters in the My Hero card game, they are added by an ability, using All Might True Form to just stack it on top, using Mountain Lady to commit her and add build one in to the stage. That is totally fine. You can also just pass the check, right? Every character card we have right now is currently a 6 difficulty, and so they're tough to pass, but you're allowed to lay them into your card pool and attempt to check them. Don't check bad. You'll have to commit a lot of foundations for it, but yeah, they are cards just like everything else. How does momentum work exactly? Another fantastically big question. Does it add the speed to one of my attacks, or do you get it to use the enhanced effects on them? For instance, if I use Monster Blast at 4 speed, but I have 2 momentum, does that mean my speed for the attack is 6? And then after that, I would discard a momentum. All you have to think about momentum is it is an extra bullet for a different gun. If you take and you look at a card, I'll use a Bakugo card, Blast Rush Turbo. It says enhance, discard a momentum, : do a cool ability. You can't play that ability if you don't have a momentum. The way that you get a momentum is you hit with an attack or steal one off of an ability. Think of them as ways to advance the game state in a different way. Imagine having the ability on Blast Rush Turbo anytime you wanted. It didn't have the gate of momentum. It just said enhance : your move gets big. That would be scary on turn 2. And so it's kind of a way to slow the game down and unlock, give access to these more powerful abilities. sorry, I'll use a different word. These stronger abilities, because we have the keyword powerful in the game. We have these stronger abilities, such as powerful and EX and discard momentum do a thing, right? And currently, we've got abilities that are just like enhance discard 1 momentum : eventually we could have enhance discard 3 momentum. This deck gets 20 damage. That's a crazy, crazy ability and would feel really, really bad on turn 2. And so eventually we could get there. Momentum's just a way to slow the game down by using a different resource in the game. So, no, it does not increase your speed at all. But that is an interesting take, Kevin, that I've never heard before. It's interesting. Video was super helpful. Thank you. Very welcome. Q-Mod Shop. My question is, can you go more in-depth into deck building? I'm still a little confused on the rules that say you can only pick that. I'm a little confused because the rules don't say that you can pick only one symbol. It just has to match a symbol on your character. I think that you're a little confused. There was, at the back of the rival decks, I believe that there was a passage that said that you had to pick a singular symbol, but that is just the rules. Qsmod is whenever you go into deck construction, you have to pick a single symbol to represent your deck, and every card has to have at least that symbol on it. Attacks, foundations, assets, actions, characters, they all have to have at least that symbol. Obviously, they can share 2, possibly 3, possibly 12. They're allowed to share it, but they have to match at least one symbol. And when it comes to more in-depth into deck building, I want to do a video on like my ideas. The new MHA rules don't mention that a character attaching is being built. I would love to see that, Levy, whenever we get there. Sorry, back to this. I want to do a deck building video, but I have to figure out the formatting that I want to do in order to articulate my thoughts clearly. But I promise it is going to be coming. I promise. What can your characters do in deck? I was thinking they go to your stage if they're the same number and skill, and then you can use them normal, such as committing them and using their skills when relevant. Christmas parties never end. What a cool name. But character cards can go in the deck. They do go into your stage. You cannot commit them as extra resources for passing foundations. You're allowed to commit your starting character. Attached characters, built-in characters, built-in characters cannot commit to pass for checks and such. It's just that first one, and their abilities are the same, but you cannot double up on them. They just count as like adding an additional number, right? If we take and we look at Mountain Lady, for example, Mountain Lady references how many Mountain Ladies she has in her stage, but I could not use the enhance on all 4 Mountain Ladies that I have built. I can only use the enhance on my starting character. With that said, the reason that you would put them in the deck, and I think I might be skipping ahead to another question. The reason I'll put them into my deck is they are 6 checks, they are 0 mid blocks, which is extreme value. There is so much on the idea, the strength of just checking a 6 when you need it. Games, championships, world championships have lived and died off of, I need to check a 6 here to survive, or I need to check a 6 here to kill them. I need a 0 mid block right at this exact moment. So there you go. Good stuff, Tam. Thank you, Sith Lord. When explaining forms in MHA UVS, I tend to liken them to being sorcery speeds in Magic or Spell Speed 1 in Yu-Gi-Oh! As for my question, how's All Might True Form's first form work? Cite your sources. Sticking your tongue out. Well, Sith Lord, luckily for you, they have made a rules document explaining how All Might True Form works, and that was definitely not 4 weeks ago, but I had to include it in this just to say, go check it out in the rules yourself. It is right there in the description. So, I'll stick my tongue back out at you. Middle-aged man in extreme debt. I don't think I've ever seen anyone asking this question yet, but I imagine someone struggling with what happened when you run out of cards in your deck. It's a random thought. The refresh deck rule might be in the rule book, but I haven't read them yet. That is a totally fair question. What happens whenever you run out of a deck is very simple. The game stops everything because we have hit a foul. You have to have a deck in order to play the game. It is not like in some games where you're allowed to not have cards in your deck pile and it only activates if you attempt to draw or interact with it. If you don't have a deck, you lose. And so what happens is, as soon as you don't have a deck, your discard pile takes in, it shuffles, and then you banish or remove from game the top 10 cards out of your deck, and then you continue the process. So let's say that I have 2 cards left in my deck, and I have been given the instruction to draw 3 cards. I will draw my 2. The game will then recognize that I am forced to cycle. That's the verb that we'll use. I'll cycle my deck, shuffle, banish, and then I'll continue the game state of drawing my last card. With that said, revealing does not cycle your deck. So let's say that I have 1 card left in my deck, and I've used the enhance on Jiro. Jiro says, look at or reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. You get to look at one of them and then put it back, because it never left your deck. It was just shown to you. And so that is really, really important. Twitch questions. As in my chat, you guys have been blowing me up. So if you have any questions and you have saved them for now, please spam them. I will go back and I will go look at some of these questions, and I will make things clear. But if you want your questions read over live on Twitch, probably next month whenever I do another one of these, let me know. So we've got ill-fated. What happens when you just naturally draw the last card? When do you shuffle? As soon as you do not have a card, it just stops everything, and you have to have a deck. It just makes it happen. What if you had 2 cards and had, in fact, like draw 2 cards, then put 2 back on top of your deck? You would draw 2 cards. As soon as the game realized you didn't have a deck, you would shuffle and cycle, and then you would put 2 cards back. You cannot not have a deck. You will lose. It says the new rules don't mention a character attaching is being built. That is an interesting one. I will ask Tim Friedlieb, Levettel, about it. But that is good. I was told that any time that you thing gets put in your stage, it is being built. Does Mountain Lady's ability count as building a card to your stage then by that verbiage? I believe so. Is there competitive play outside of the USA? I believe that there will be competitive play happening. They actually just announced a new head of organized play over this past week. Big shout outs to him. I don't actually know his name. I could go find it though. Chat will find it first, I'm positive. Announcements and scroll. Frank DeBrito. Big shout out to Frank for taking over organized play. And so the answer is, I don't know currently. I know that there have been for UFS/Universes big events over in the UK. There have been big events up in Canada. There have been big events in Chile. And I think that's the only ones that I know about. But with My Hero becoming a bigger IP, there will be big, huge things. So yeah, there will certainly be big events. Yes, hello Dan. What else we got? You guys going crazy. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the promo packs overall? They all seem relatively strong for how hard they are to get. I think they're all about an ultra rare. I don't think that there's a card that's stronger or not stronger than anything else. I think they're all ultra rares. I think the characters are fine. I don't think they're any stronger than anybody else. Yeah, I think it's fine. Why would you want over 50 cards in your deck? For competitive play, in most card game, consistency is key. So with this being a different game, I understand where there are, but even with like the Omaha list, most of them were 50 even, if I recall correctly. Yeah, that's a really great question. This game is such an expression of you as a player. This game feeds off of you being in charge of your deck building. And so a lot of us old heads want to express ourselves and play the decks that we want to play. So with that out of the way, and realize that I am an old head. I played Universes for a really long time, like 5-6 years. There's 2 big reasons that I build my decks over 50. Reason number 1 is the easiest. I don't want to mill out. There are some games where, because of how you draw, you will not draw consistent attack turns. And you have to go to a long game. Even these aggressive characters like Denki, like Tokoyami, like these aggro monsters, they can still draw cold. They can. And I don't want to deck out, especially as somebody like Tokoyami. So I want to play a bigger deck. Right? Reason number 2, and this is the important reason. Inside of My Hero, in set 1, there are 30 characters that we have to deal with. 30. And all of these characters are pretty viable. I believe that there is a chance for every character to beat every character. I know that I complain about Kirishima being the big top dog. There's always a big top dog. I'll get over it. But there are plenty of cards. Sorry, there are plenty of characters that can beat every character. Which means in my deck building, I have to sit down and understand that my deck has to not just fight Kirishima, but my deck also has to fight Nomu, who play the game very differently. Who also has to fight Denki, who plays the game very differently. Who has to fight Froppy, who plays the game very differently. And I have to do that 30 times. So the larger my pool of cards is, the wider I'm allowed to cast my net. The smaller my pool of cards is, the more narrow my net is. And so I personally play bigger decks because I want to cast a wider net and have a little less consistency and let my skill as a player in playing good enhances, sculpting good cards, calling out good blocks. I want to let my skill as a player patch my holes, as opposed to I'm going to laser focus in on this one strategy and I can't beat Nomu and I can't beat Shigaraki and I can't beat Kirishima. And that's why I play a bigger deck. But to each their own. You got 50 cards, play them. With the Omaha lists, I think the big thing is there's only, at that time, I think there was only like 18, 21 characters that were viable. And they wanted the consistency because they just didn't think that the event would be very big or represented, so on and so forth. Or they just thought it was the most consistent deck, and that's them. Frank used to be high end, high up with Konami. Good to see him take over a new card game. Yeah, that's very cool. Count. I think it said that in the thing. Been with Konami for the last 12 years, so he's got to be doing something right. Not much. Will float combo be insane in Shigaraki? It'll be strong for sure, but I don't think it'll be insane. It's just guaranteed. But he only gets to play 4 of them, right? So it's just like it's 5 damage for free, 6 damage if you want to be with it. Can you use a card like Apathetic to then can you use a card like Apathetic, then unflip with coordinated effort and use Apathetic again on the same attack? I believe so. This is something that's been... I believe you can. I believe the game does not remember it being the same card. I might be backwards in this because the answer is yes or no. Ill-fated, I will get back to you. No, you cannot. Okay, I trust Dan. No, you cannot. I know there is a rule about Paul says you can. The game does remember it. I know. Here's what I know for a fact. Let's say it specifically remembers it looking up unflipped. It specifically remembers it. It is a new ability. Look up unflipping. We'll look it up. Hey, it's over here. We can look up cards. Rules documents. I have to take the white belt judge exam. I don't know the question. Control F. Unflip. Unflip. To unflip a card, note face down cards in stage have no abilities. If you unflip one that is currently that card's current state will refresh and it will now have abilities. These are newly gained abilities, even if the card was face up and had those same abilities early in the turn. You haven't played these new abilities yet, so you can use these ones just like once per turn abilities. It doesn't matter what happened to the abilities the card used to have before it was flipped. There you go. Look at that. All right. Where are we at? This game is an incredible, super interactive system. I never played anything like this game. I'm excited that this game arrived here in my country. Edric, where are you from, man? What symbol do I play Mount Lady under? I want to say that I just built an Earth list. It was either Earth or Good. And the way that it works is just like a big, huge, crazy punch. I think I was just trying to Detroit smash people because she gets to steal a momentum for free. And so she doesn't steal 1 momentum, she steals 3, and then just punches you in the mouth. Yeah. Any other questions? I think I've caught up with everybody. Any other questions? I'm from Ecuador. Well, hey, nice to have you in chat, man. That's very cool. That is how I started Dendar as well. It was oops all throws, and you're right. It was certainly not good enough defense-wise. What characters do I want to see most in set 2? I mean, I'm an All Might simp, but I already have 4, so like I'd be okay if we didn't get it. How does Into the Typhoon work with Tape Swing? You cannot completely block that move. It does not work. I'm sure that there will be... I mean, I can ask Tim, but I think that you still take half damage. Or it just doesn't work. It will fizzle because it just can't be blocked. I think you'll take full damage, actually. Because it cannot be fully blocked. I built Mount Lady on Void for kicks, just so I can say she crushed them with her thighs. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the YouTube video here. Boop, it's done. Thank you much guys for hanging out with me. If you want your questions answered live over on Twitch, join me twitch.tv/TamCardwell. Otherwise, leave them down in the comments down below. As soon as we get 20 more, we will have 20 additional questions to be answered over there. So with that, thank you much for watching, guys, and I wish you well.